Hello, and welcome to another episode of Hour of Healing. Dear friends, we are so glad you are here. Again, I am your weekly host, Joe Deborah. And our sister, Rachel Dami, she is back with us to continue our discussion on uncertainty reduction. Friends, if you have not listened to the first part of this conversation, we will implore you to go and listen to that. She sets the foundation for our discussion today about uncertainty reduction as the way we reduce the impact of the lack of information when it comes to forming a bond or relationship with others. She did give us some very powerful information there and also sharing some of her life experiences with us in part one. I truly believe that it is a very, very important step in understanding where we are going with our conversation today. So, without wasting much time, I will bring back our guest and we will pick up right where we left off. Dami, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being with us this long. In part one, you had shared with us basic or the foundation of what the uncertainty reduction theory is about. You had also shared with us some of the factors that contribute to those uncertainties in our life. And you mentioned, I think, three or four things, but two of them that really stuck out to me was the fear factor and also the vulnerability. Because I have this theory and I carried this all throughout my schooling that a healthy amount of fear is always a good thing. And the reason why I said that is because sometimes you meet people who are so confident in their abilities in this regard. It was mainly in school. They were so confident of their knowledge of or the concepts that have been taught that they didn't really put in much time in studying. And I saw that as a bit of the opposite of fear. So I think that when you have a bit of a healthy amount of fear, it pushes you to say, hey, I may know the concepts, but I still have to study to prepare for
Yeah.
that exam. But I certainly understand where you were leading us, and that led us into the core concepts when we talk about uncertainty reduction. You had shared a few of the concepts that over the years, through your experience and by giving talks on this very topic, you have come up with. So we will turn it over to you and pick up right from where we left off on the concepts or some of the concepts that influence this theory or the concepts that are part of this theory.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to first say on the fear factor, a good way to look at it is if something that you have previously encountered or something you have previously heard, whether it's through the media, through other sources, if it forms your perspective of, a person or of something, then that's where you know that is not a good that's not a good kind of fear. The kind of fear that you know I mean, there is a healthy fear, but that is not a healthy fear. Any fear that basically makes you judge a person before you have the opportunity to engage with them and really form your own perspective of them based on firsthand experience. You want to eliminate any of those preconceived notions that fuel that fear, because that fear is not good and it's going to rob you from going far in life.
So we will call that unhealthy fear.
Yes. Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah, but so I'm gonna go into the strategies for reducing uncertainty.
Absolutely.
And the first strategy is the passive strategy. It's basically the things that you observe that enable you to gain, because remember, uncertainty happens because there is not enough information gained or there
Correct.
is a lack of information. And so you can gain information by observing people. You can gain information by, just paying attention to a person without attracting, any type of weird, because if a person notices you're constantly observing them, you definitely don't want to create a weird situation where you're like, oh my gosh, why is this? I mean, it's my least favorite strategy, I should say. It is my least favorite strategy out of the 4 strategies for reducing uncertainty. And so I want to put that out there. Observing is good, but it's not an effective strategy in my own personal opinion.
Don't
And
trip
then the
anybody
second
out.
strategy is the active strategy, where you pretty much you're asking somebody other than the party that you're developing a relationship with. You're reaching out to people who are more familiar with that person to find out what you can about that person. And so that's the active strategy, is taking the initiative. I actually had a friend, colleague, actually call me a few months ago, and she was going to have a meeting with a Nigerian person.
Mm,
And this was a Nigerian male, a Nigerian man, and she wanted to make sure that she was being respectful. It was a pretty dicey meeting. There were some legal aspects to it, but she wanted to make sure that she was maintaining respect and honor for him. So she
mm,
called me and she said, what do I need to know? This was a white woman. What do I need to know as I, get ready to have this meeting with this person? So that will be
wow.
an active strategy. To
Mm,
to a degree, it can be effective when you're speaking to the right person,
correct.
when you're getting information from the right source. And then the third strategy is the interactive strategy. It's really just taking the bull by the horn. This one is my favorite strategy. As far as communication goes, it's engaging in dialogue with the other person, because
Mm,
as I shared on the last time, you
correct.
know, there's not a better person to give you perspective than the person in question.
Mm,
you know and so it's important to be able to just be comfortable about engaging in that dialogue. If I didn't
mm,
engage in dialogue with the Aldi manager, there is no way that he would be able to learn. At the end of that conversation, I said to him, I know 3 other Nigerians that live in this republic, and they
mm.
come to Aldi. We only have one Aldi here. I said, now you have learned something that can help you connect with your Nigerian customers when they come here,
And it's
right?
for free.
And it's for free. Exactly. And so directly engaging, in my opinion, you can never go wrong with it. I even
Mm,
challenge people, not just our white American friends. I challenge even our African friends. Look around you. If there are people that you wouldn't normally engage with, and you are hoping, there are many, and this may not apply to everybody, but there are many Africans in our community here who want to get themselves out there. They're doing amazing work, but they're
mm,
doing it in hiding
mm,
because they can't get out, right? Actually, they can get out, but they think they can't. They
mm.
think that people will not be receptive to them, but the reality is the people on the other side of this, as well, they are thinking the same.
Correct.
They're wondering, how do we connect with the Africans in the community, with the people who are not from here? And so, you know, uh, part of engaging in dialogue, as I've been teaching uncertainty reduction theory, for a while now, is challenging people. Just think of the
Mm,
people that, you wouldn't normally engage with, and engage with them. Walk into a room, the person who is the odd one out, that is not really interacting with people,
mm,
that is the person that I encourage people to walk up to and have conversation. I also say, take people to lunch, take them to coffee, or tea, I do. My minimum in a month is 3, and
Wow.
for over a year now, I've exceeded my goal each month.
Wow.
You know, and you can do that. That's how you build relationships. And anybody who has a desire to be successful in life, which I believe everybody does, right? You want to be successful. You cannot be successful on your own. You
Mm,
cannot be successful in the same space, that you are, that you've always known.
correct.
There are so much, there's so much out there that is far beyond what we know and what we were raised with.
Mm,
And
mm,
this interactive strategy is going to get you to stretch yourself beyond the stuff that you know and the people that you know. And then we have the extractive information seeking, which is now with technology, we have the extractive information seeking, which is basically using an online medium to obtain information.
mm,
And this is where most people now go to. But the challenge with this is the limit that I see with this is it takes away the human factor.
correct.
And yes, maybe you're using online medium to learn about people so you can connect better with people, but the reality is there needs to be a balance, in my opinion, of the
Correct.
interactive strategy and the extractive information seeking strategy, so that while you're doing your research, you're meeting somebody for the first time. So I say that the best use of this strategy is really when we take 2 or more strategies and we combine
Mm,
in order to continue to reduce uncertainty, whether it's, generally about people, but we know that there is a correlation between relationship development and, success in life.
correct. Yeah, and thank you so much for great points that you list out for us. And I want us to talk a bit more about each one of these because in the past few weeks, I believe we actually started the year on Hour of Healing talking about obtaining help. And the reason why we had talked about that topic was my personal understanding of the principle that every help that we need in life to be successful will come from God. But every single one of them will come through men.
Yeah.
And when I say men, I mean male and female.
Yeah.
But I think there is a deficit in our lives today, especially even in the Christian community,
Yeah.
where we are expecting God to help us transcend levels of achievements, but then we are disrespecting everybody else around us. We are not valuing everybody else around us because we are looking to God to help us. Yes, I mean, I am a firm believer in the Bible, and I believe that God is our helper. But all help that God gives come through
Through
other
people.
people.
Yeah.
In fact, I go on to say that the devil always uses people to harm others, whereas God always uses people to help others. And you go through the Bible, and it's emphasized over and over again. You go through our secular world, and you talk to people who have been successful, and they all had to get to that platform or that echelon of success by either someone boosting them up or practically standing upon the shoulders of another
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
I say all that because I think what you are sharing with us, Dami, is so powerful and so impactful. Because if we are able to conceptualize these strategies, yes, all fingers are not the same height. We are not all created equal. So what will work for someone may not work for the other. But I think, as you said, being aware of these principles, applying them, and combining them to achieve the success that we want will certainly help us a lot. But I want us to talk a bit more about the extractive part, because we live in a technology age, and so what tends to happen with this age, and when you look at younger generations, is the interpersonal skills that some of us were taught in school, some of us we learned from trial and error. Your parents will send you to go meet other people or go play with other kids, and so you learn certain things that way. You see our younger generation and they miss on that. So how do we balance of the extraction of information, which is good in itself, but how do we balance that with all the negative things that we see about people online as well, and all the negative impact that can also potentially have on us?
So remember, just going back to the first when we talked about the core components or the
Correct.
keys for
Correct.
connecting with people, at our core there's that desire,
Yeah.
right? And I do think that along with the desire, along with the benefit of doubt, along with courage, vulnerability, the responsibility is on us to also vet people.
Mm.
And a lot of that is information, right? A lot
Correct.
of that is information. You are meeting somebody for the first time. There's potential for that person to support and help grow your business, or there's potential for you all to partner together. What are you doing to vet that is somebody who is worthy of your partnership,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And so that's the healthy fear we were
The
talking
healthy fear.
about. That's where the healthy fear comes in. That's where
Mm.
you're looking to say, and sometimes it's not even so much yes, the extractive information seeking is one piece, but sometimes the passive strategy, the observation, is this person consistent? Is
Mm.
this person,
Mm.
when they say ABC, are they following through with ABC? And
Wow.
that's
Wow.
again what uncertainty reduction is you're getting all of those information that help you to now you can predict the person's behavior
Mm.
and the resulting outcomes, or
Yeah.
the resulting outcome of their behavior. And so if we're not doing our due diligence,
Mhm.
and that's the thing, the concept of uncertainty reduction is not that you open up yourself to everybody. The concept of it is that at that initial phase, everybody has a chance to present themselves and to give you a real picture of who they are.
Wow.
And then you get to take that information and now you can predict their behavior, and you can use that as what is needed to determine, is this somebody that is worthy of moving to the next phase of this relationship? Is this somebody
Wow.
I want to do business with? Is this somebody I want to entrust you know my business to? So
Wow.
there's due diligence, and there's openness and vulnerability and all that stuff, and it is definitely carelessness to offer all of those, the openness, the vulnerability, and all that stuff without you know doing your due diligence.
Wow, thank you so much for that. And that's certainly kind of where I was going with that question, because sometimes when you give people some of these key strategies in life that have been tested and proven to be worthwhile, the issue that sometimes I encounter with our technological age is that people take that and they sacrifice their personal responsibility of preparedness.
Right.
I think when we don't prepare, a lot of the information we get becomes, excuse me to say, useless.
Yeah.
Because as you rightly sharing with us, if you will take these strategies, if anyone will take these strategies and actually analyze them, one common thing that is, I would say, I can draw a straight line through them, is our personal responsibility
Yeah.
when it comes to establishing any meaningful relationship. And I think that is certainly one of our take home points today. But I want to, because we may run out of time again. So I want to go on and ask you probably our final or our last but one question. And that is, what are some of the consequences that we will likely encounter if we don't address some of these uncertainties when we are thinking about forming relationships that will impact us in business, in academics, in spiritual life, in our family life, in marriage, and all those things? What are some of the consequences of not addressing some of these uncertainties?
Yeah, absolutely. The first that I can think of right off the bat is really just the loss of opportunity, right?
Correct.
Every human interaction that we have is an opportunity to, connect, because
Mm.
again, if we lean into our humanity, we are looking for connections. We have that desire, right? And
Correct.
so if I let my uncertainty if I just ride on that uncertainty and I'm not really doing anything about it, and I'm not really,
Mm.
saying to myself, can I do something differently so that I can know more? I can, it's all growth, it's personal growth. And when we're not doing that, we are depriving ourselves of the opportunity to develop or establish and develop some of the best, relationships. I say over and over to people that some of my best relationships that I now have, they are right here in the Ozarks.
Mm.
And that would have never happened if I remained in that place of uncertainty, if I remained in that place of hesitation, or that place of fear. I was somebody who was pretty content, sort of just, coasting, and I didn't really get out there. I wasn't really trying to make any connections outside of my regular day to day, you know. And then several years ago, somebody said to me, "You're doing so much. I mean, there's so many amazing work that you're doing, and there is no reason that others should not have the opportunity to know about what you're doing."
Mm.
Well, how do people know about what I'm doing? I have to start getting out there, building those
Correct.
connections, building those relationships. So I say
Wow.
that's the number one thing that you lose, is you lose that opportunity for more.
Wow. Wow.
Right? If I am uncertain and I don't want to talk to that weird person, at the mall, or how do I open up the door for potentially ministering to that person and maybe leading them to Christ, right?
Correct. Correct.
So there's many, there's just so much to lose when we're not tending to our uncertainties.
Absolutely.
And then, there are other things that, you could lose I mean, it's just in the way that like you mentioned previously, the lack of awareness, lack of exposure, and all
Mm.
of that.
Mm.
There are ways that you will interact with people that they can just tell right off the bat, this person really has no clue,
Mm.
because they haven't really I've not taken the personal responsibility to learn anything outside of what I know. So
Correct.
now I'm limited on my ability to, really get along with people, because I'm stuck in what I know.
Wow, thank you so much, Dami. That's very powerful. And I will get back to you on the same question. But as you were talking, one of the things that I came into my mind is I think sometimes we get too comfortable with the level of success that we have achieved, and so we tend not to reach out. We tend not to stretch ourselves. And like you were saying in your last point, I was just saying to myself, this is so important, because if you miss out on the experience of others, um, how are you going to be able to build on where you are? There is something to be said about where people have ascended in life to get to. And I believe in part one, you had made a statement that if we want to be successful in life, these are some of the core things that we need to be able to not master per se, but these are some of the things that we have to dedicate ourselves to
Yeah.
knowing and to pursuing to be able to get that success that we want. And I have a theory. I'm a man of theories, forgive me. But I have a theory that every level of success that we hope to be able to achieve in our life today, somebody has been there.
Yeah.
And so if you don't open yourself out, if you're not vulnerable enough to be taught by some of these people, or let's go to the basics, if you're not vulnerable enough to even reach out, get out there, form a relationship with some of these people, you will go through years of
Yep.
trying to get to that level where,
Absolutely.
as we have said here on Hour of Healing, the right kind of relationship can save you years of time
Yep.
and put you at a platform where you will not get there otherwise. But as Sister Dami is sharing with us today, forming the right relationship is one thing, but going out there to actually be able to establish these relationships is also certainly a very important thing. I will turn back to Dami for any more that she wants to share on this question about the things that we lose, because I did cut her short. I said I was going to be quiet and I didn't. But we're going to go back to her to share anything else, any more that she has to share about this. And then we will come back and probably wrap up with one more question if possible.
Yeah, thank you. The only thing I think I want to add is that the intention that we put into people and what we can bring to their lives, what they can bring to our lives, it really speaks a lot about how we value people, how
Wow.
we value other
Wow.
human beings. And so, yes, we're speaking about reducing uncertainties, but it's not just about reducing our uncertainty. It's really how do we value people in such a way
Mm.
that we're able to recognize the impact that they can have on our lives and what they can
Wow.
enrich our lives with, right?
Wow.
If I don't value people, then I think I'm the best thing since sliced bread. Even though somebody told me the other day, sliced bread is not the best thing. They said unsliced bread is the best thing, you know. But if I think so highly of myself, then I'm not going to be able to value people to the point of seeing the need to want to connect with them.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah.
I will
Thank you
stop
much.
with that.
Thank you so much, Dami. I think this, I would say this is divine because next week on Hour of Healing, the um, section that we have recorded and we will be airing is maintaining relationships. And so I think, I think that actually ties in very well with our conversation today. But before we end our conversation today, this is Hour of Healing. And so, what do we say to the person who is right now in a position where they are overwhelmed with uncertainties about their own life, about the potential opportunities that lays ahead of them? What will be the few things that we can say to this person so that we can wrap up?
Oh, this is kind of taking me to the other part of the work that I do. Really, there's always one or maybe a couple things that really truly matter in
Mm,
life
mm,
for us when it comes to accomplishments. In the grand scheme of things, you're always, when just look ahead of you and say, when I get to the end of my life, what would I want to have, to have put my time into,
Mm.
right? What is it that is going to matter? And one of my most popular quotes is, discover the thing that matters so that you can spend every day dedicating yourself to the thing that matters. And so the problem with a person who is in that state of overwhelm and trying to figure out, how do I, move forward, and what is the choice that I need to make amidst all this very fancy, flashy, opportunities that life is throwing at
Mm.
us, it is, take your eyes off every opportunity. Not every opportunity is for us, right?
Mm.
What is that thing that matters, or what are those things that matter, that if you were to not be here tomorrow, you would
Mm.
want to say, I in fact spent my time dealing, navigating, putting my resources, my effort into the things that matter.
Wow. Wow.
And if you can do that, that's going to drastically cut your overwhelm by, 90%. And then you can spend the 10% focusing on the important stuff.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, dear listeners, you heard it from the horse's own mouth. It's about 90% of our reduction of what our overwhelming uncertainties are about. It's finding that one or two things that matter the most. Thank you so much, Dami, for spending your time with us today. But as we do with all our guests, we will not close this show without asking for any further remarks or summary of what you have discussed with us today. So I'll turn it over to you, and then we will close off after that.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely enjoyed having conversation about reducing uncertainty. This is the first time that I have talked about reducing uncertainty without diving into a lot of I mean, I talked about some differences in culture, but usually when I teach this, I dive a lot deeper into variations in culture, fundamental, patterns in cultural differences that impact our ability to connect with people, work with people, all
Mm.
of that. But I've really enjoyed, pulling in all the other like perspectives as we've talked
Absolutely.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really hope that people have, that they're able to at least pick one thing out of what we have discussed, and they can move forward the with with that one thing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I can almost certainly tell you that, yes, certainly people who will be able to hear us will certainly find more than one thing to be able to pick from what you've shared with us today. Because, Dami, as we were talking, I happen to be a person who always look at the grand scheme of things. And for me, it's not even about what matters in this life that I always ascribe to or pursue. And so we are talking about reducing uncertainties when it comes to forming relationships. And I don't want us to end our conversation today, my dear listener, without putting this in perspective for you. Because, there is a relationship that you can form today, wherever you are, no matter what stage or no matter what level of success you have attained. You can form that relationship, and it's guaranteed that the person is who he is, and that is Jesus. So we will certainly employ you if you do not know Jesus. He is all about what he says he is. If you want someone who will not be uncertain in your life, that is that one person. Make time and be able to plug yourself into a Bible believing church so you can learn more about him. And I pray that you will be able to form a relationship with him. Because guess what? Once you form that relationship with him, his presence alone in your life reduces a lot of the anxieties and the uncertainties that you and I have when it comes to forming relationships for success, when it comes to marriage, when it comes to academics, and when it comes to career. God bless you so much for joining us today, and we hope that you have been blessed by this. Again, if you have any comments for us, you can leave that on our Facebook page, and it is Hour of Healing. We will see you same time next week as we dive into the final part of our conversation on relationships for success, which is maintaining relationships. God bless you. See you next week. Bye-bye.